Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to be making this amazing kimono jacket. So this is a very detailed tutorial. I hope you learn a thing or two. Please do make sure to subscribe, click on that subscribe button, okay? And do like this video and also share. So let's get into this video. So starting first, I'm going to be showing the materials I used in making this kimono. So we have 3 yards of each fabric here. But I would advise you to have like three and a half, or 4 yards of each fabric. So I have my lining here. I think I bought about 2 yards of lining and I didn't use all of it. And this is my cloth gum. This is what we are going to be using for the collar. So moving on my brown paper, we are starting with our shoulder line, right? And then we are going to be going down to mark our shoulder slope, the 1 inch for our shoulder slope, and then we would also be marking our armhole, which mine is 8, so plus the 1 inch on the shoulder slope, which is 9, right? So neck width is 3 inches, so I'm just going to be placing that. And then for this pattern, we're going to be making use of one pattern paper for both our front and back piece, right? So we'll be drafting both our front and back neckline and front and back armhole on the same pattern piece. Right now I'm trying to mark my bust line, and then I would also mark my under bust line and also my waistline. So my bust line is 11, my under bust is 14, and my waistline is 17. So I'm just going to go ahead and roll that in. Right here, I'm just going to roll my under bust and then also roll my waistline. So what I'm doing right here is placing that 8 inch to make sure that I have a straight line. So I'm placing it on the bust so that the line lines up with the mark on the shoulder line, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and roll that in. So I'm marking it here so that you guys can see better. So this is the bust line, the under bust, and the waist line. Next, going to be placing 8 inch for our hip line. So from the waistline down 8 inches, and that's our hip line. We're going to go ahead and roll that in. So I'm just going to mark that, the hip line. So the brown paper we have is not going to be long enough for our full length. So the full length is going to be the full length of your tape roll. That's the full length I'm using. That's about 62 inches. So that's the full length I'm making use of. So next we are going to go ahead and draw out our back neckline. So 1 inch down. I'm just going to curve that out. Next, we will be drawing out our front neckline. On the waistline, we are going to come up by 1 inch, so that is going to be the length of the depth of our front neckline, right? So since my waistline is 17 inches, so that's practically 16 inches for the depth of the front neckline. So I'm just going to rule that in. We are going to go ahead and curve out our front and back armhole. So right now we are going to cover out the back armhole. This is the back armhole. Then for our front armhole, we are going to be placing our tape to get the center point of the armhole. So on that line we have 8 inches, so my midpoint is 4 inches. I'm just going to mark that, and then we are going to be coming inwards by half an inch. So we are just going to be connecting from the shoulder line to that half an inch. We'll be drawing a slanted line. And then from that other point down to the side of the armhole, we are going to be using our curved ruler to curve. Next, we are going to be placing our body measurements. So for my bust line, we have 10 inches, and then we're just going to go ahead and mark that, and then we would be adding a sewing allowance of 2 inches. So I'm going to be placing the same measurement on my bust. So we have 12 inches on the bust line, which is a 10 inch for the bust and 2 inches sewing allowance. On the under bust, we have 8.5 inches. So I'm just going to place that 8.5 inches and then place the 2 inches sewing allowance on the under bust. We're also going to be placing the same thing on the waistline. So we have 8.5 inches on the waistline, then plus 2 inches sewing allowance. We're not actually using the 2 inch sewing allowance to sew. We're going to be making use of either 1 inch or half inch to sew, so that you have that extra width for your measurement, because the kimono is not fitted, right? So on our hip measurement, you place your hip measurement and then 2 inch sewing allowance. You can make use of more than 2 inch sewing allowance, but because I'm making use of 3 yards of fabric, I don't have enough width to go more than 2 inches sewing allowance. So I would have loved to go either 3-4 inches. That would have been really nice, but yeah, so that's what we have to work with. So I'm just going to go ahead and roll in the measurements I have here. Nepa decided to show their sales here, but I decided to go on ruling the pattern. But then right here, ruling from the waistline to the hip line, I'm just realizing that I ruled on my actual body measurement and not my 2 inches. Although right now that I'm finding this out, it didn't affect me, but please take note of that and rule on your 2 inches mark, not the way I did, okay? So I'm just going to rule down to the end of the paper, although the pattern paper is not my full length. So I just ruled however I saw fit, and then when I'm cutting on my fabric, I would just rule straight. You see what I will be doing with my fabric. Just watch what I do here. Please don't make the mistake I made. I ruled on my hip line instead of the 2 inches allowance. So I'm cutting out my back armhole and my back neckline. So we are going to be cutting our back pattern first before our front pattern. So here I'm just going to place my tape to show you guys what the length I'm working with is, right? So we are going to be working with the full tape. So I'm just going to pull that off so that you can see better. So we are working with I already ruled the line. We're working with the full tape length. So I'm just going to use a marker and my chalk, to rule down the sides for the pattern paper. So while ruling the line, I just made it straight, so there was no curving or anything. So I just made it straight. So right here, I already went ahead to cut my lining piece. So I cut my lining piece about 4 inches shorter because I'm going to be using my main fabric to pull up to finish up the length for my lining piece, right? So right here, I'm placing my pattern on my fabric to cut the front pattern. So we cut out the neckline, the armhole, and then down to the full length of the kimono. So remember, it's only the back pattern you have on the fold. Now for the pockets, we have 8 inch here and 10 inches as shown. I added my sewing allowance to this measurement, so you don't need to add any sewing allowance when cutting, you just cut directly. So at the lower end of the pocket, you're just going to curve these lines, and then for the top part of the pocket, we are going to be coming up by half an inch, although I added another half an inch to make it 1 inch so that the pocket will be a little bit more slanted, right? So right here I went ahead to add another half an inch, so we have 1 inch altogether, and then I marked the part where we'll be cutting out, and we're just going to go ahead and cut that out, and this is what the pocket is looking like. So next for our armhole, I went ahead to place my armhole measurement. I have a sleeve tutorial on my YouTube channel, you should go ahead and watch it. The sleeve tutorial here is not so detailed, so I measured the full length of my sleeve and then just left the sides wide like that, because we are going to go ahead and use elastic to ruche it towards the hem. So this is what my sleeve is looking like on the fabric, and that is what the pocket is looking like. Next, for my front piece, right here I'm showing you how I added material to it. So we're going about 4 inches inwards on our lining. So you just place a long fabric on your lining. You don't necessarily have to cut out that part from your lining, so you just sew it on your lining, so that the inner piece of your kimono looks really nice and neat. As you saw earlier in the video, you could see what the inner part looked like. So here I went ahead to sew it in, and this is what the hem of the kimono is looking like. Right here I already joined the front and the back, and for the length of the pockets, we have about 21.5 inch, right? So that's what we have for the length you're going to use to place your pockets. So next, I'm also showing you for the other side to show you that they are both equal, right? So that 21.5 inch, you're just going to go ahead and place your pocket on that point, right? So next, for our collar, we are going to be measuring our neckline, the neckline that we have, so that we can get a length for our collar, right? So remember, we made use of 16 inches for our neckline, but I decided to go a little bit lower, about 2 to 3 inches lower, an inch higher than our pocket line. I think that was the length. So we are going to go ahead, and I would use my tape and show you the length though. So for the new length here, we have about 19.5 inches or 19 inches roughly. So we are going to go ahead and measure the round of our neckline so that we can get a full length for our neckline to draft our collar. So that is what I'm doing right here. So for our collar length, we have our neck length or round neck, we have 46 inches, right? So it's that 46 inches that we are going to use to draft our collar. So I'm just showing you guys what the inner piece of the kimono is looking like. So it's looking really neat and nice. So next, we are going to be drafting our collar. So I just cut a long square piece. For our collar height, we are going to be working with 6 inches, right? So I'm just going to measure 6 inches on both sides. So I went ahead to already mark the half of my 46, which is 23 inches. That's the long line you are seeing there. So here we are just marking our 6 inches line. Center point of our pattern, we are going to go ahead and go up by 2 inches, and then after marking the 2 inches, so the midpoint of this particular pattern piece, which we have 23 inches here in length, our midpoint will be 11.5. We're going to go ahead and mark that 11.5. So I'm showing you the center point for 23.5, right? So I'm going to be marking 11.5 on the pattern paper right here. So we are going to use our curve ruler and connect this 2 inches to the 11.5 inch. So if you have a long curved ruler, this is going to be really helpful. So I just used my curved ruler a bit and then decided to use my long ruler to just roll. Right, so this is what we have here. At the end of our collar length right here, you can see we are going to be marking 1 inch, right? And then that 1 inch will be connecting it to the lower point where we have 23 inches, right? So you are going to have a slanted line. I'm just going to go ahead and roll that in, and then our pattern, our collar is done. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut that out and cut on my fabric. So I'm placing it on my fabric and just cutting it out, right? Right here, I already joined because I use both sides, both fabric for the front and the back, and then I use cloth gum on the inside to iron it. So here I'm notching the center point of my collar and I'm showing you what the inside looks like, all nice and cute. So right here we are going to be placing our collar piece and then sewing round about it, right? So I'm placing my collar and we are just going to sew. So we have come to the end of the video. On the video I noticed that I lost the file for the sleeve. So what I did with the sleeve is that I went ahead to use elastic to just rush around it, right, with each line. So that's what I just did. Very simple and easy. So this is what the finished look is looking like, all nice and pretty. Please do make sure to subscribe, like and share, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye bye.